Welcome back to Mountain Connections. Mother's Day can be a very difficult time for many people, and here to help us navigate this tough time is Julie Cluff. She is a grief and transformation coach. Thanks for being on the show, Julie.
Thank you so much. I appreciate being here.
So you are a grief coach, but you've also suffered severe loss, and you very much understand how people can struggle during this time of year. Tell me a little bit about your background.
Sure. So in 2007, on Mother's Day, I was traveling across the country from Texas to North Carolina with my three youngest children. My son was 12, and then I had a daughter 10 and a son 8. We were all traveling in the car. When you have a big family, you don't get on the plane, you just get in the car and you start going across country. We've done it a lot of times. But this particular day, we got about halfway through the afternoon and I fell asleep at the wheel, unfortunately. And when I woke up, I was in the median. I was in the middle of between the highway lanes. And when I tried to go back up on the highway, the car started to roll. We were in an SUV and it just started to roll, and we rolled and rolled and rolled. And when we finally were standing still, I could not hear my two younger children who were in the back seat, and they had been thrown from the car, and unfortunately they didn't make it.
That kind of story, it takes my breath away, and I'm so sorry for your loss.
Thank you.
And I'm curious, at what point during your time of grief did you decide not only to be very open about your experience and what you suffered, but to be able to also help people as they navigate their grief?
You know, it's an interesting story because about 5 years later, I met a man who was doing some similar work, and he heard my story, and he looked me straight in the eye and he said, "You're supposed to do something with this." And it went straight to my heart, and I knew that that was true. But it took me a while to kind of figure out what that was going to look like. And when I discovered coaching, because for me, I went through therapy for 2.5 years. I had PTSD from being the driver of the car and the car rolling, and I went through this therapy. But when I got done and my therapist said, "You're good," I was like, well, what do I do now? Like, how do I rebuild my life? And so that was my initial thought, is I wanted to help people get from here to there, to not only surviving but thriving. And to really get to a place where they could enjoy their life, they could have some purpose, they could have some joy in their life. And because so often the message, especially to mothers who have lost children, is you will grieve every day for the rest of your life, and I don't believe that it has to be that way.
You know, I was talking to my mom last night, and she struggles with Mother's Day because of loss that she suffered, but she tends to not accept that struggle. She'll say, "Oh, it happened a long time ago, it was a natural thing, I shouldn't still feel this way." Do you find that when people hear your story and start to work with you, that they kind of start to quantify their grief, saying, "Oh yes, you experienced something horrible, mine wasn't actually that bad, I should be fine"?
Oh my goodness, I am so glad you said that, because that happens so frequently. We compare losses, but the reality is we all experience our losses at 100%. And so regardless of what it is, it's just not helpful to compare losses. And Mother's Day is hard for women who haven't experienced loss. It's hard for women who have a large family, who feel overwhelmed and like they're not doing a good job or they're not appreciated. It's hard for women who've not been able to have children. It's hard for a lot of women. It's not just people who've experienced loss. And so, yeah, definitely, we need to get to a point where we can accept our losses. And when we have those feelings come up, that what we might call negative feelings, that we allow ourselves those feelings, that we allow those feelings to move through us.
You have some specific tips to help women who do struggle with Mother's Day.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, the first thing is that a lot of times we have expectations for Mother's Day, and our expectations aren't met, and that creates some drama for us, I think. But I actually call this the talk show syndrome, which I apologize because you're a talk show host, but I call it the talk show syndrome, because we're told to express our expectations, but we're not told what to do if they don't happen. So the trick is that we can express our expectations, but when it doesn't happen, we don't have to make it mean something. We don't have to make it mean that they don't love us or they don't care about us. It's just what it is. And the other thing is to kind of change our focus a little bit. The 1 year anniversary of the accident, that first Mother's Day after the accident, my 2 older daughters were in college and they came home from school that weekend and to surprise me for Mother's Day. And it changed the whole focus for me. It changed my focus from everything that I had lost to everything that I still have. And so I think that's another hack, if you will, is to kind of think about, where's our focus? Allow the sadness to come up, allow it to go through you, but don't stay there. Then start looking at what you do have, change your focus a little bit, and feel the gratitude.
Such a good tip, feel that gratitude. How long did it take you from right when the accident happened to being able to find yourself in a position, you mentioned that you did have to get over it. How long was that process?
Well, it was several years. It was about the 3-year mark, and I'm hesitant to give timetables because if someone is at 10 years and they're like, oh, she said 3 years and what's wrong with me? I mean, it's different for everyone. It's different depending on the loss. It's different depending on your personality and the way you handle things. But for me, it was a 3-year mark. And interestingly, I moved from Texas to Kentucky at about the 3-year mark. And I felt like I kind of went through grief again. It wasn't nearly as intense, but I was leaving behind all my friends that knew my kids. And so it was like losing them all over again.
We're showing some pictures of your children right now. Yeah,
that's
just
scary.
Really incredible story, and I'm so impressed that you're able to spread a message of hope after an experience like this. What do you offer your clients who come to you for grief counseling?
Yeah, so what I offer, and what I like to say is I offer experience, compassion, and tools. So I believe that the support that we need needs to be equal to our challenge. And when we are challenged with loss, and what happens is our grief, we don't know what to do with grief because we don't want to look at grief before we have it, and then when we have it, we kind of panic because we're like, what's normal? But I work one-on-one with people. I have a support group in Sandy, and I'm actually offering right now, if you text 55222, you text loss to the number 55222, I'll send you three tips, the things to kind of get started on.